It's witchcraft.
Hey, it's 4:20 a.m. Hi, and welcome to episode 59 of the Stoned Witches Hour. On this podcast, two best friends, separated by way too many miles, get together to tell each other spooky paranormal tales while smoking enormous quantities of the finest devil's lettuce in the land. Bringing you poltergeist activity type houses, I'm Layla.
And flipping the switch and going all true crime on you. I'm Chelle.
Wait a minute, you're going true crime again. You don't do true crime. That's my thing.
I got sucked in again to a story and I couldn't help myself. So yeah, I was like, what the heck? You're doing two houses. I'll go true crime.
I love that. It's the stories that we get sucked into that are the most fun. It's the unexpected topics.
It's seeing how things do or don't pan out. The
Ooh.
mystery of it.
Oh, you've got me intrigued. And that's really what brought me to do two houses, not just one. I had to do two. They were too similar and too weird and too mysterious. So I had to do them both.
Well, before we delve into that, you mentioned the devil's lettuce.
I did indeed, Shell. One of your favorite things.
I just got to jump in here because I did a crazy thing.
What did you do now, Shell?
Went to a new store.
You cheated on Happy Valley again? You hussy, you. Where'd
Well,
you go?
I went, shit, I don't even know the name of the place. Mission. That's what it's called, Mission. And what got me to go there was I just had a little bit of cash. I needed a little bit of weed.
And you
And,
were on a mission.
and I was on a mission. And a little birdie told me I could get an eighth for $27. And I was like, what? Who can pass up an eighth for $27, especially when we've talked about what I've paid? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. How bad can it be? Then I realized they have good cheap weed.
Really?
I went back because it was good. I was like, okay, this will be worth a go. I went back and was actually able to get like an ounce for like $204, which again, if you've heard what I've paid in the past, that's like highway robbery. That was a steal. You can't pass that up, even if it's dirt weed.
Now, you normally pay closer to how much for an eighth?
45 to 60. And this broke down to 27 and eighth.
Wow, that's pretty good for that area, Shell. We're still waiting for prices to come down in Massachusetts, and it doesn't look like they are. How good is it?
It is good. Never heard of it. TK 43. And you know how one of our last episodes we talked about labels and what all the labels do and don't tell you, and how different stores have different labels?
Yeah.
This tells me total cannabinoids is 28.8. And then they have a listing of breakdowns, which are irrelevant in my mind. I see the 28. I'm like, all right, we're good to
You're like,
go.
we're good. That's fine.
But TK 43, never heard of it. Don't know what it is. Don't really care. Good weed.
How's it smoke?
It smokes really good, but it can kind of get you a little tongue twisted. The brand is Island Flower. I don't know what the hell that is or where it's from. Don't really care. Still good. What me and my sweet love were talking about when I got this, you can't just get an ounce in one container. I don't understand why. No matter where you go, what you do, who you buy it from, you're getting that shit packaged by the eighth. So here I am with 8 of these motherfuckers.
They're not used to people buying in bulk. A lot of the stores, particularly in New York, where I am currently, I've been finding the same thing. Most of them are used to selling in an eighth. They don't have ounces. Some do, most don't.
I just think it's silly. Get me a Ziploc bag, put a freaking ounce in it, and be done with it. Like, really.
I agree. I'm with you on that one.
Instead, I have 8 of these beautiful glass jars currently.
Oh boy. Well, hey, at least they're recyclable. What are you gonna do?
That is again a good score. I feel like I've been getting some good scores lately. That's my good score this week. And good pick, good pick. What do you got? What are you smoking? What devil's lettuce is hitting your lungs?
Well, like I said, I am in upstate New York right now, near Lake Ontario, and I have found a wonderful online delivery place that right now I'm kind of liking. And they're called Hotbox.
Let me ask you this. Do you pay extra for delivery?
No.
Oh, nice.
Like other places that I have been in California, we had a couple different delivery places. And other than the tip, there is a tip involved, and we will tip anywhere from $5 to $20 depending on how far away they are. So there is that fee, I guess you would have to say. You should tip your driver.
Yeah, but I tip the pizza guy. What's the difference?
The same thing, exact same thing. Tip your weed driver just like you tip your pizza driver. Maybe a little better. I don't know. But this place has actually a couple very, very cheap ounces. And they also have something that we first were introduced to with Lisa Ann from Washington. She had a whole bag of pre-ground flour. This place also has what comes in a, little plastic container.
Oh, cute.
Isn't that cute? And it's, oh gosh, it does say open carefully on it, and I did not. But it's all, pre-ground flour.
Yeah, but does it dry? Is it dry?
No.
Oh,
The canister that we got before this was a little bit squishier. This is a tiny bit drier than that was, but I thought we were taking a chance. I was like, it's $60 for a half ounce.
no shit. $60 a half.
And they have Humboldt OG for $40 a half, and they have Gushers Indoor for $60 a half. I'm sorry, $65 a half, and that's what we got. We got the Gushers, and it's quite good. It's very good, actually. The other thing we got was a full ounce of Humboldt OG.
You can't, you're so stoned you can't even say it.
I'm so stoned. Humboldt OG ounce of flour, not the pre-ground. An ounce of flour for $100. So,
Oh my God.
so
Oh
for
my God.
165, we got an ounce of flour and half an ounce of pre-ground flour.
Our listeners can't hear this or see this right now, but I am crying tears of sadness.
And for $100 ounce, it is surprisingly
Worth
stoned.
your $100?
Oh yeah, worth 165 all day, every day. And getting it delivered is always nice. Who doesn't love to get an ounce delivered? I mean, we've talked before about the horrendous days of having to wait for your guy, you know,
Right?
or worse yet, your guy is waiting on his guy.
Or worse yet, your guy doesn't pick up the phone.
Yeah, and then they stop texting back.
So you're like in the dark, like, do they have it? Do they not have it? Why aren't they responding? I need some weed. What's going on here?
Oh,
Like,
I hated those days. I
don't
hated
miss
them.
that. Don't miss
Nope.
that at all.
No. So getting it delivered is fantastic. I'll take a little bit lower THC. These are probably, I haven't looked them up. I definitely feel high. They taste good. They smoke well. So $100 ounce, I will smoke all day, every day.
I just wanted to kind of divert a little bit. If some of our listeners haven't been made aware, we've started another podcast, very witchy based, very pagan based, called Back on the Broomstick. And I think in doing so, we kind of laid off some of the witchy stuff here. So I just do want to mention on a witchy note, check out our latest episode of Back on the Broomstick, where I am going to be talking about, gushing over, reviewing, whatever you want to call it, a recent pagan witch, whatever you want to call it, festival online, WitchCon. I attended this online festival. It was fabulous. And if you are interested in hearing what I thought, some of the things I participated in, and how you can get in on the action next year, check out our other podcast, Back on the Broomstick.
Wherever you get your podcast. That is definitely where a lot of our witchy stuff has gone. You may have noticed we don't have any more Wheel of the Year or even the full moon or new moon. We did just have a full moon. When this episode goes live, it'll be like a day or so after the full moon in March, the worm moon. So
The
yeah,
last winter moon.
last moon of winter. That's right. We are almost on our Ostara, the first day of spring. So check out our witchy podcast, Back on the Broomstick. And speaking of other shows, I have been binging lately on a show that on Hulu. It was originally on Vice called Bong Appetit back from 2017. I used to watch this show all the time and I've caught up on some recent episodes. Have you ever seen this show?
I've never even heard of it, but it sounds bongerific.
You would absolutely love it. It's a cooking show,
Oh,
but they infuse weed, cannabis products into every single dish. And it started out more as a like a dinner party. The host would invite some chefs on and show them, wait till you see the cannabis pantry. They'd show them all these different cannabis products and they would cook with them and then serve a big dinner party with famous people and talk about the dishes. Very, very cool. The most recent season has changed format a little bit, and Be Real is one of the hosts.
do you get high off the food?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You know, they talk about how much THC is in each dish, and they're like, this dish has 2.5% THC. And I'm like,
I bleed that. I bleed that, okay?
yeah,
Lord.
exactly. So I'm like, all right, for an appetizer, maybe, but you better be saying that the main course has 100. Anyway, so yeah, they infuse everything, and it's a great show, really fun, a lot of cooking. But I noticed in the most recent couple episodes that I saw that in the background, Be Real has a dude rolling joints for him.
I need a guy like that.
Yeah, I guess this guy's name is Pedro, and he is Be Real's official joint roller. And when I started looking into it, apparently this is a thing. People can just be other famous people's weed rollers. They just go around and I need one of those. I would love to have my own personal joint roller.
How do you become Snoop Dogg's joint roller? That's the question.
I read about a woman who was his joint roller. She said that she rolled 115 blunts for him a day.
Now, anybody who knows me, Layla can back me up on this. I couldn't roll a joint to save my bloody life, okay? I've been smoking for like 30 years, and if I had to roll a joint or die, I would be dead in 2 seconds.
It's true.
So that's not my profession, yes. But if you need a bowl packer, I'm your girl.
She's got you covered. But yeah, and then I went down this rabbit hole of decorative joint rollers or
Oh
competitive
God.
joint rollers.
Competitive?
Oh, yeah, they roll all these different shapes. Shell, you have not lived until you have seen a drum set joint that you can smoke. Someone paid like $50,000 to this one joint roller guy for a whole arsenal, like a full size AK-47 that's a smokable joint, hand grenades that are smokable joints, and everything, anything you can think of, some of these professional joint rollers can turn into a smokable work of art.
I feel like anytime I've tried to roll a joint, it actually looked like a hand grenade.
Well, if you're putting a full ounce in there like some of these people do, I think that would be the bomb.
You know, just from my personal experience, watch out, folks, because Layla can break into this industry in a hot second. She's crafty and can roll like a motherfucker.
Right? Hey, be real. If you ever need an assistant joint roller, I'm your girl. Call
Hit
me
us
up.
up at the Stone Witches Hour at gmail.com.
But yeah, I just thought that was a lot of fun. So they combined a couple of my favorite things: food and edibles. Who doesn't love that? And then joints. I mean, come on. We would be shoo-ins to be guest judges on this show, Shell.
That's where I would shine as a judge. That's my niche.
Right? I could show off my joint rolling skills to be real. We could eat. You love to eat.
I do. I do. No lie.
Food is good. We would be so good. So be real. Hit us up. Hit us up, man.
You know, we need to figure out how to make this work, man. Totally. But since we can't make it work right at the moment, I got to tell you a story.
All right. I'm packing a bowl. I'm getting comfortable and I'm ready to be scared. What you got for me, Shell?
What sucked me into this is I have a story for you that has been a true crime cold case for the last 35 years.
Oh, wow. That's a long time to wait.
It is. And it involves the murder of a woman. And in a weird turn of events, after 35 years, actually within the past, I don't know, from the time we're recording this, I'll say in the past week or so, they have actually made an arrest.
Wow. Not only have they figured it out, they arrested a suspect.
They arrested a suspect after 35 years.
Damn, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Are any of the relatives still alive? Just real quick before you get into it.
I never found that part out,
Oh,
but there was a child involved. So I would imagine that there is a child who now knows what happened to their mother.
wow. I'm guessing was genealogy DNA involved somehow?
You know, you know how the government is. They didn't necessarily come out and say that, but in a roundabout way, kind of did.
I gotcha. All right. So start from the beginning. Tell me. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Ironically enough, this story, and I didn't even realize this until after I had read a bunch about it. This story originates in Salem, Oregon.
Opposite coast from you, Salem. Okay.
Yes, not to be confused with Salem, Massachusetts, but this is in Salem, Oregon. We're talking like 1988, around late November 1988. I think it was the 29th of November. There was a woman, Deborah Lee Atropes, age 30, and she was reported missing November 29th, and her body was discovered on December 1st, just a couple days later.
Hmm.
You think of how police work is done now, and I understand that we're talking 35 years, but like, I don't know. I feel like we were old enough to know what was going on in 1988. And I feel like this was a case of were the cops that dumb? I don't know. I'll get into why I think that. But so we got Deborah Lee here.
Like in a lot of the true crime that we've talked about before, there's been a little bit of incompetence or cover up, or you're kind of implying something like that may have happened.
I think incompetence. I do understand that technology is very different than it was, but in my opinion, there were some blatant avenues that could have been looked at that weren't, that 35 years later, or who ended up being, where it all ended. And I just feel they should have known this 35 years ago.
It seems like some people aren't deemed important enough, maybe, or weren't, they just didn't care enough to pursue those avenues at one point, I guess.
How this, and like I read some of the original news articles because you could actually find those online. And, like I said, different time, different technology, but I still feel like the police let this woman down. Deborah was estranged from her husband, and they were co-parenting a 9-month-old girl.
Mm.
And she was supposed to go to the hairdresser, run an errand, and then go pick up her baby from the husband. But it sounded like, from what I read in at least one article, it almost seemed like they still lived together, but weren't together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay. I've seen some people try to, for the sake of money or for
Co-parent,
the sake of the child,
right.
try to stay in the same house. Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes not.
So she had been at work. She went to work, had a great day, left work, did her errand, went to the hair salon. She was supposed to pick up her child by like 7, and they know that she left the hair salon approaching 7, and she was never seen since.
Oh, wow.
Around 9 o'clock, her estranged husband called the police, was calling friends. Have you seen her? She was described as someone who was a very dedicated mother. She would not just, ghost out on her kid. Very responsible, very reliable, not the kind of person that wasn't where she said she was going to be when she said she was going to be there kind of
Right,
person.
right.
She doesn't show up to pick up her kid, and the estranged husband starts calling friends and family, calls the police. After a few more hours at midnight, the police put out a APB on this woman.
Hmm.
Weird.
What?
And my purse, this is the second time in a few days that my purse just randomly falls off the shelf.
Interesting. So you're talking about a mysterious crime and your purse randomly falls off the shelf by itself?
Yeah, strange. Anywho,
Hmm.
so the husband seems very concerned, very upset. They search for a few days. They say they did a full investigation. I don't believe them. I'm sorry. I feel like the police failed her. So, like I said, they had only been kind of estranged for about 5 months at this point. So, there's still that rawness.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like there had been a lot of time.
Right.
But a few days later, on December 1st, they find her car.
Oh, well,
Okay,
that's a pretty big clue.
it is. But picture a cul-de-sac, but at the end is like a construction site.
Okay.
So, an active construction site. So, she disappears on like a Monday, and Tuesday morning, the construction crew notices a car but thinks nothing of it.
Okay. Yeah, that could have been just parked on the cul-de-sac. Sure.
Wednesday morning, the police are just rando patrolling the area and notice this car. APB has gone out. They have put out the type of car she has. They find the type of car, no license plates.
Really? But it's the right kind of car, so of course they stopped to check it out, right?
Right, correct.
Okay, good. Cool.
But like, no license plates, weird.
Yeah.
So they get the VIN, run the VIN. They find out it, yes, is indeed her car. So they call the husband. Hey, husband guy, we found her car. Do we have your permission to search the car? Because back in 1988, that's what they did. Today, they just
Sure.
bust that shit right open,
Would they?
probably. Oh, we found it open. Um, the husband is like, oh my God, you found her car. By all means, please search it. Holy shit, you have my permission. Oh my God, let me know how this works out. Find her body in the trunk.
No, no. Oh my God.
Find her body in the trunk.
Oh no. How long had she been dead? Had she been alive the day before? Oh my God, that's terrible.
Was probably dead the night she disappeared. So she had probably been dead in the car for a good 2.5, pushing 3 days.
Oh wow, that's awful. Where the fuck was the car? Where was she?
And why were the license plates gone?
Yeah. How did she die?
She died from strangulation and asphyxiation. Come to find out, they had to do an autopsy, blah, blah, blah. They also said that she was severely physically abused.
Damn.
So it sounds like she got the shit beat out of her and then she was strangled.
Mm,
They believe that she was dead before she was put in the trunk based on like how her body was or whatever. I don't know.
right.
I guess they never did figure out the deal with the license plates, but they did obviously determined it a homicide, but then it just went cold.
Wow, no fingerprints, no nothing?
Now, in my younger life, all I wanted to be was Clarice from Silence of the Lambs.
It's
I
true.
just wanted to be an FBI investigator. You remember that?
Yeah, you were going to be an FBI investigator. Yeah, that was your dream.
Like to the point where I even started off my college career taking criminal justice classes. So like it's not like I have zero frame of reference here. Wouldn't your first fucking person be like, oh, let's investigate the estranged husband that she just broke up with 5 months ago?
Isn't the estranged husband always, or even the current husband, always the first suspect?
You don't even need a degree in criminal justice to like even think of that avenue. Like, come on. They were just like, don't know what happened. Sorry.
So the husband was never considered a suspect.
Never,
Weird.
never, never.
Hmm.
I mean, they even offered a reward. I read one newspaper article where they offered like some significant reward. It was only like $1,000, but in 1988, $1,000 was
A
a
good
good
chunk of
chunk of change.
change.
Yeah. By the way, they did find the keys in the ignition, which is one of the other reasons why the police wanted permission from the husband to look at the car. Because they're like, this is her car and the keys are here. Something is awry. The weird thing is that there was houses around at the end of that road. And like I said, an active construction site. Some of the neighbors said that they heard screams. One neighbor said she heard like running footsteps. Nobody acted on
What?
this shit. Nobody did anything.
Well, I mean, you hear somebody running outside, you think, wow, they're running very loudly. You don't think, shit, someone's getting murdered.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess nowadays you would.
I mean,
Um,
nowadays that's going to be all over next door. Be like, some stranger was running down my sidewalk. Call the police right now.
but
And it's
like
just some kid playing tag.
from everything I read, they never had any suspects ever.
Not even the husband, who's like
Not even the husband.
always suspect number one in all the stories you ever hear.
Lord, for real. So let's fast forward 35 years.
So, not one person came forward with anything substantial, not one clue in 35 years.
It almost seemed like they found her, and by the time the funeral was over, they were like, oh, got nothing for you. All right, we're done.
She didn't have enough money, enough connections. They didn't care.
They didn't really care. And I would imagine this was a more rural area that people just kind of fade away. And this poor lady faded away again with a
Too
9 month
bad.
old baby. So in 2020, authorities with the Washington District Attorney's Office had happened to secure a grant for prosecuting cold cases using DNA, which led them to launch a cold case unit, and they were going to focus on cold cases with crimes of violent nature. In May of 2021, an investigation into Deborah's death reopened. They started it all over again. And the collaboration of the Washington County Sheriff's Department and the district attorney's cold case unit went like balls to the wall with this.
Nice.
Over the next year and a half, up until like a week ago, detectives and investigators re-interviewed multiple witnesses, like some of the people who heard the screaming, the pitter patter of footsteps type people.
Yeah, that would definitely help establish a timeline.
But they still had forensic evidence that they re-examined.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they have?
Details of the evidence was revealed to the Washington County grand jury on February 28th. So, like just a couple weeks ago. The grand jury on March 2nd has just decided to charge with one count of second-degree murder the husband.
Dun dun dun. No shit. The very person you and I both were very surprised. Why the hell did they not look at him first? They always look at the significant other first.
Right?
Why not this
Right?
time? Who did he know?
I mean, I don't even know, but like, so now the guy is 68 years old. He, based on DNA evidence, is getting charged.
What was it? Was it like something under her fingernails?
They didn't say. And I'm kind of wondering, and I actually want your thoughts on this, and I'm sure our viewers, our listeners want your thoughts on this too. They don't say what the evidence was, so I don't know if it was I don't know. But they don't say how they matched up that DNA to bring it to him either. And I'm wondering, these cold case units have been in the news the last couple of years of using the likes of Ancestry DNA.
Well, it's not actually Ancestry. There's a specific company out there, but I'm pretty sure Ancestry does not participate.
There's another one, and I can't think of the name of it, and it might be the
Yeah.
other one. But I'm just wondering, what do you think about them utilizing these genealogy databases that folks are using for genealogy fun to then what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, anyone whose DNA is being used, make sure you read the fine print before you sign anything, because you can opt out of having your DNA used for any type of forensics or anything like that. So make sure you read the fine print to know what they're going to be using your DNA for. That being said, I don't know. On the one hand, all these cold cases would never have gotten solved without this database. On the other hand, by you opting in, it's a little weird because you're not just saying that you can use my DNA. You're now basically opting in your entire family. Everyone you're related to or will be related to, you're opting them in without their consent.
Well, that's how it always works out when you see these pan out this way. It's like, cousin Susie from down the block went and did her ancestry, and now all of a sudden, Uncle Bob from wherever 200 miles away is finally getting charged with a crime he committed.
Yep. So I'm of two minds on it. On the one hand, I love seeing these cold cases get solved and justice being served.
But it's not as consensual as you think.
Right. On the other hand, it's a little weird. What else are they going to do with this DNA without your consent or without your family's consent? So I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm still learning.
This is where I became in a quandary with this because you've been hearing a lot about this lately. I had done a true crime about a local Massachusetts story a while back, and it's the same kind of thing. Here is this, first of all, a 9-month-old baby who loses her mother,
That's terrible.
has to grow up without a mother. Like that's heartbreaking to begin
Probably
with.
be raised by her mother's killer, it sounds like.
To be raised by your father, who's all you got in the world, you love your daddy, and then when you are 35 fucking years old, you find out everything you knew was a lie. Your father killed your mother, and now you feel like you have no parents.
It's heartbreaking.
I can't
Heartbreaking.
even imagine
That poor child.
how this pans out, creates basically a whole new victim.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is now a girl that is unfortunately going to have to live with knowing her father killed her mother. And it's tragic. It's heartbreaking. We're seeing a lot of that lately, and it's fucked up.
That's terrible. Oh, that poor child. Oh, I feel terrible for them.
But yeah, because this was very recent and in the news, I got sucked in, and like I said, the whole heartbreak for the daughter just kind of pulled me into this story. But on the flip side of the heartbreak,
Justice being served.
yep, that woman's family can now put it behind them. They're not going to forget, and they're not going to ever stop grieving, but they can have some sort of peace with it.
Wow.
So I think I need you to lighten the mood here, my friend, and start giving us some ghosties.
Well, I don't have any whorehouses to help bring the mood up this time. I
Damn
apologize.
it.
I know. I'll up my game next time. I'll try. But I do have two tales for you, Shell. And I'm going to give you a choice of which one I start with.
What are my options here?
Your options are blood and fire.
Blood and fire. Oh my God, both sound fantastic.
And they are. You can't go wrong here. There's no wrong choice.
I'm gonna go with blood first.
Blood. Very good choice. Okay. So, blood first. Dun,
Does this
dun,
have to do
dun.
with vampires?
No, no vampires.
Oh wow, so it's not vampires and it's
No,
blood? I'm even more intrigued.
right? So, I am going to take you to 1987.
What is with us in the freaking late 80s tonight?
Who doesn't love the 80s? Come on.
Right?
So, we're going to go to 1987 to Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, to 1114 Fountain Drive, the house that became known as the Blood House.
The Blood House.
The Blood House. So, this seemingly normal house was the home of William and Minnie Winston, and they had lived there for 2 decades. They'd raised 3 children there who, in the late 80s, were adults. Willie was 79 years old and Minnie was 77. And they lived in this little 7-room house and they had a very good life.
I like how you call it a little 7-room house.
Well, not 7-bedroom, just like 7 rooms total.
Oh, okay.
So not very big. So they lived there alone. Their children were grown and out of the house. And Willie had quite a few health problems and was on dialysis. He had to have regular dialysis that he did at home.
Oh, that sucks.
So he was pretty frail. And on this fall evening, Minnie had taken care of Willie, put him to bed, and had decided to take a bath to relax for the night, as one does.
Sounds like a good time.
Right? Love me a good bath. I think we've been talking about magical baths like a lot lately.
I know, right?
So Minnie gets herself into a nice hot bath. She's relaxing. She's taking a little time for herself. She's quite occupied, like I said, taking care of her very frail husband. So she gets out of the bath. As she steps onto the floor, she notices that the floor's not just wet. It feels almost like sticky. And she looks down and realizes she's stepping in a puddle of blood.
Oh my God, where's Willie?
That was her first thought, too. Oddly, she said the blood seemed to be kind of bubbling up from the ground a little bit, but her first thought was for her husband. And so
Like
she,
out of the floor?
yeah, yeah. She
What
said that
the
was the weird
fuck?
part about it. But she immediately wondered that maybe her husband had hurt himself while she was in the bath. So she grabs her bathrobe and leaves the bathroom and discovers that there is blood everywhere. It is coming down the walls in the hallway. It's covering the stairs in the stairwell.
Oh my God, it reminds me of the bathroom scene in It.
She says it was in the basement, in the crawl space. She got to her husband, and his room was clear. There was no blood there, and he was fine. And she, took her husband, Willie, and they went and explored the whole house and found this blood everywhere, but no body anywhere.
But not in Willie's room?
Not in Willie's room.
But he saw the blood.
After Minnie got him and took him out of the room, he also saw the blood on the walls and the stairs and in the kitchen.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Right? And so they look through the house and they discover that there is blood in most of the rooms. So, of course, they call 911.
Right? Here I am. I'd be calling my freaking coven. I'd be like, people come. Well, not to mention I'd be calling Serve Pro. But yeah, I'd be calling my coven. What's
Like it never
911?
even happened.
Yeah, right. 911 ain't gonna do shit for you, people. You need
Yeah.
a spiritual leader on that.
Right. That's a coven 911 moment,
Right.
if ever there was one. But they call regular 911 and say, neither my wife nor I are bleeding, and there's no one else here, but there's blood all over our house.
How to get the cops to your house in a hot flash.
Exactly. So the cops did get there and spoke to Minnie, who told them that she had locked all the doors and set the alarm before she went up to take the bath that night, as she did every night. And she knew for a fact that no one else had been in the house. The alarm had not gone off. There was no evidence of an intruder.
And the police saw the blood too, right?
The police saw the blood too. Interestingly enough, one fact that I found a little weird was when the police were searching the basement, they picked up a TV off of a table and there was blood underneath the TV. So just blood in weird places. They took some samples of it and sent it off to the state crime lab. It was human blood. Even better, or more interesting, depending on how you look at it, it was type O human blood. Guess what type of blood Willie and Minnie have?
Not O.
You're right, type A. They both have type A.
Yeah, but what was that at a point where they could kind of use that blood to determine the source, or not necessarily?
Well, this was in 1987.
I can't remember where we were with DNA back then.
Yeah, in 1987, they could not. I was actually wondering that myself, and I could not find if they had kept it anywhere to do DNA testing on it today. So it definitely was blood, and it definitely was not either Minnie or Willie's. And no one had gotten into the house. So the police searched the entire house from attic to basement and found no bodies, no nothing, just blood everywhere.
They're like, oh, call Surf Pro, have a good night.
That's pretty true. Detective Steve Cartwright was an investigator on the case, and he told us, the Associated Press, that he'd been on the force for 10 years. And he said, quote, "I've never seen anything like this." The house baffled police for decades. They still do not know to this day what happened.
Did it happen again, or was this just like a one-off?
According to Minnie and Willie, it never happened again. And if you ask them about it, when they were still, unfortunately, 2 years after it happened, Willie passed away. Minnie lived until she was 104.
No shit. That
No
house
shit.
kept her ass alive.
And she would actually get quite angry when people would ask her about it, and always said that she said it was rust and water, even though the state crime lab tested it and it was definitely type O human blood.
Well, initially I was thinking about, how there's those trees that bleed. I can't remember what type it is, but there's those trees that bleed. And I was like, oh, maybe their house was built out of that. But, well, the crime lab kind of threw that theory out with saying it was human.
Exactly. And they'd lived there for decades, raised a family there, and had never had anything like this happen.
Any paranormal experience, any voices, any apparitions, anything?
As far as anyone who has lived in the house, or many would say, nothing. Now, some people do say that in order for Minnie to continue to live there, she had kind of said a couple times that if it was blood, she wouldn't be able to stay there. So they think that she was kind of in denial and just insisted that it was rust and water.
The people that lived there since she died have not No incident, no nothing, no Amityville poltergeist bullshit.
There has never been an explanation, and it has never happened again.
What
So,
the fuck?
on that note, my second story, we will go to fire.
I'm
so,
still like, what the fuck?
I wish I had more information, but I couldn't find anything. So, if anyone knows, or if you happen to know someone, or if you yourself live at 1114 Fountain Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, email us at thestonedwitcheshour@gmail.com and
I
let us
need to know
know.
more. I need to know more because this is like a fucking tease, man.
It was in the New York Times, it was in the Associated Press. There were write-ups all over for it at the time, but no explanations whatsoever.
We should title this episode, What the Fuck?
Okay, we will.
Okay, so
All
fire. What do you
right.
is this like now I'm really intrigued with this fire business.
So now we have a what the fuck fire story. This one is in Odon, Indiana. And this is Willie. Wait a minute. Hold on. Don't tell me they're both named Willie and Minnie. No, that can't be possible.
Wait, what? They have the same exact name?
Okay, so hold on. I didn't even catch this until just now.
What's going on? Are you having your own poltergeist moment?
I think I am. William and Minnie Winston are the ones with the house that bled in Atlanta, Georgia. But it's William and Minnie Hackler in Odon, Indiana.
What?
Okay, I'm freaked out now. I didn't do this on purpose, I swear.
I can see the look on your face, and folks, she did not do this on purpose because she's kind of freaked out right now.
I'm a little freaked out right now. But so, okay, in 1940, William and Minnie Hackler's house caught fire 28 different times.
First of all, if my name's Minnie, I refuse to marry someone named William at this point.
Thank
Just
you,
saying. Just
because you're going to
saying.
have poltergeists in your house and it's going to be bad.
And I think either earth or water are next.
I
Just
had the
saying.
same thought. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So we're going to go back in time a little bit because this house has a little bit of a history, whereas the bleeding house did not.
Wait, where are we? Indiana?
We're in Indiana.
Okay.
A house was built just after the Civil War by a gentleman named Marshall Ketchum. And he moved there in the 1840s. And he married a woman named Margaret Sedgerwood in 1852. And they had a whole passel of children and built this cute little house. Unfortunately, tragedy struck in the late 1880s, and 5 people in Mitchell Ketchum's family died of the burning fever or typhus.
That's some shit.
It is pretty shit. And then a few years later, Marshall Ketchum himself died of some type of debility. After that sad start, the house was sold to a gentleman named Andrew Wickle, who happened to be a spiritualist, and his wife, who was also a spiritualist.
Weren't they all at that time?
I think they were. I think everybody pretty much had to be. You either sold an elixir of some sort or you were a spiritualist. Unfortunately, while living in this house, their 2 sons were killed in a hunting accident.
Oh.
Wickle, inconsolable, could not handle the loss of his sons. And as we know, spiritualists very often are going to reach out to these family members, right? So I'm sure he did a lot of that in the house.
Probably was all consuming.
From all accounts, he never got over the deaths of his children. Not that I can blame him.
That sucks.
He was so inconsolable with grief that it's said that he buried his sons. He made a casket that had a glass window in it.
Oh God, that's creepy. Like, that's creepy.
So that he could always see the face of his child.
Oh.
And he told everyone that he knew that he had made regular contact with the ghost of his son and that his son's spirit regularly made his presence known.
That's sad. I mean, that's just sad.
After he passed away, his wife was like, yeah, enough of this bullshit, and had the kids properly buried. So,
Bitch.
okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
The Wickles sold it to the Hackler family, William and Minnie. I still can't get over that. William and Minnie Hackler. So they'd been living in the house for a little while. It's early June in 1940. And William's headed outside to do some farming chores, and he smelled smoke coming from the house, and so ran back into the house, upstairs to discover in one of the empty bedrooms, one strip of wallpaper was kind of curled up from the wall and burning.
Oh shit.
They called the Odon Fire Department, and the fire department came out and quickly put the fire out and said, now at the time, this firehouse didn't have any electricity. A lot of houses, and particularly farmhouses in the area, did not have electricity built in
Right.
yet.
That was like for super rich people at that time.
So it could not have been an electrical fire in the walls. The firemen figured that maybe it was an old chimney that had gotten bricked up that maybe had a coal or something. So they broke through the wall, and not only was there no chimney there, but there was nothing burnt on the back side of the wall. So it hadn't come from inside the wall at all. It was just that one strip of fire.
Weird.
So no chimney damage, nothing. So the fire departments leave, and they're not really sure what happened. No sooner did they get back to the fire department than they're getting another call from William and Minnie, and said that in another bedroom of the house, a mattress was smoldering. The fire seemed to have been started from inside the mattress. So the fire department goes back out to their house, and while they're putting out the mattress fire, more fires start popping up in the house.
In random different locations?
In random different locations. Willie's clothes hanging on the back of the bedroom door burst into flame. One fireman in the living room saw a book on the bookshelf start to smoke. So he pulled it off and found all the pages on the inside were burning, but the cover was intact.
Now, were these people spiritualists too, or just the people prior?
Just the people prior. And these people had lived there for over a decade before this happened.
What the hell? Did they bring anybody in? Please tell me they did.
Well, this day is not over. Before it's over 100 firemen from 2 different towns were called to come help put out fires.
Holy shit.
Between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., over 9 fires were put out in the house. And then after that, it was just one fire after another. 2 neighbors came over to see what was going on. And while they were standing in the living room talking about it, the curtains across from them in the room caught on fire.
And they never figured, like, was there there had to be some like gaseous fume.
That's what some people did suggest, that maybe some type of fumes were there, or maybe someone was trying to play a prank. But there were people crawling all over the house, and the fires would start where no one was. Another one was while they were in the kitchen after things had seemed to die down and they were talking about it, a calendar on the wall burst into flames, but did no damage at all. No burn marks, no scorch marks, no nothing to the wallpaper underneath the calendar.
Okay, was that house built on a portal to hell?
That's what the family wondered, because that night, around 11 p.m., the fires died out and no more came. And so all the fire department left and all the neighbors left. The family took the beds that weren't burnt and put them outside and decided to sleep outside. William told reporters, quote, "I don't believe in spooks, so the only thing I was afraid of that night was fire breaking out again that way."
Don't let him fool you. He's a scared motherfucker.
Right? So after that day, they took the house down piece by piece and moved it over a mile away and rebuilt it on a different spot and never had another fire.
All right, so that tells me that portal to hell, some shit's going on that land, because it's literally the same freaking house.
Right? Some people did say that some sort of random gas may be floating through the house. One gentleman said that he thought that the house was situated at the center of magnetic fields, a triangulation of magnetic fields. Others said the house was haunted or cursed. The Indiana State Fire Marshal just said it was, quote, "the most baffling mystery he had ever seen."
Have they built anything on that specific plot of land since?
As far as I can tell, nothing has been built in that specific plot. So maybe it was related to the spiritualist. So I don't know what to tell you, but those are 2 really weird houses, I have to
I
say.
feel like you're leaving me hanging tonight, all the way around.
Well, yours was a solved true crime. I guess I have to go with 2 unsolved poltergeisty type mysteries for us.
All right, touche, but my stoned mind wants answers.
We should go. We should bring some divination tarot cards and a Ouija board and fuck around and find out. It's what we do best.
This is totally a homemade Ouija board type site.
Absolutely. We should bring
right?
our homemade Ouija boards. Well, so I'm out of weed, Shell, and I'm pretty happy with the ending of your story. I love seeing justice served.
I'm not happy with the ending of your stories. Just putting that out there.
So does
Just
that
putting
mean
them
I
out there.
win? Do I win this evening?
I
Ah,
guess tonight you
yay!
win.
All right. Well, I'm going to take that win and my empty bowl and try and go get some weed. But thank you all for joining us on this episode 59 of the Stoned Witches Hour. We hope you will join us next week on Wednesday at 4:20 a.m. for episode 60.
OMG. I can't even
Right?
believe it. 60.
60, where we explore even more ghost stories, paranormal, and true crime, and things that go bump in the night.
Keep it spooky.
Stay high, stay happy.